Excuse me, Big Sills! I gotta get the fire hose going. I may have to put some fires out today. Or start one. How you doing? Hey, I want to thank everybody that's coming aboard with us right now. I want to thank you for this. Almost over 500,000 people heard our comments or saw our comments yesterday about the Dallas Cowboys. Okay? Look at this right here. It says 479,000 people have checked out the National Football Show. James, Tone, Xander, Big Joe, the entire network. Almost 500,000 people. 500,000 people care what we say here on this show. You should take a bow. You should take a bow. You are blowing this bitch up. Hey, look, okay, you know me. I've been doing this a long time. People know me. They know I'm not a journalist. But you guys, let me tell you how important all of you are to this show. You think those radio hosts that are on at WIP or The Fanatic or like superstar talented guys, they're not. What makes those stations great are you. You make stars. You make them. By choosing who to watch and who to listen to and who to bitch at. Oh my God, I could never do this without you. Hey, it's one thing to sit in a forest and scream at yourself and no one hears you. You know what I mean? And then you think, one thing that this platform has taught me, Tone, everyone, Xander even said it. You know, I used to sit behind a microphone for 25 years and think what I was saying and what I was thinking was important. Come to realize it wasn't. That's why sometimes peaks and valleys in the ratings. I know what you want. Barbershop talk, Twiz, amen, right on, bang, arm wrestling. You guys are killing it. Thank you for bringing me along. I mean that, man, with all my heart. I can't tell you how I appreciate this and how you're dragging the show into being a relevant show in not only just Philly, but around the country. Who in their right mind puts up 500,000 views on a comment, and our guy James, who's spectacular, our IT guy, according to my source, who's that, my mom? I mean, according to my source, 500,000 people care what I say. Excuse me, what we say? I just wanted to give you guys kudos right out of the gate. Oh, and by the way, enough gratuitous backslapping here because you know what we got to do? We got to go back to being the way we are because I can't give you too much love and you can't give me too much love. Cue ball, one of us. Dude, we're in this bitch together here. Nobody has a better show than what you guys are doing here. And I don't say me. I never ever... We have a phenomenal team. You, Tone, James, Joe, Xander, the whole network. I'm very, very impressed. Do you know how long I fought this format? I want to do radio. Don't call me for that shit. I have no interest in it. Especially when you see companies filing pretty soon for bankruptcy. I won't say which one. But when you get delisted, I was a stockbroker, my friends. That's not a good place to be. When you get put on the penny stock issue, that's not where you want to be. My man, what up, maniac? Seals, we love to hate you. Ain't that Philly? Even Angelo says, how in the world have you not been in a number one chair in this city? You can't hire a guy like me. So I give Joe Kraus the Stundines and Xander. This guy's got Stundines, Couillons, cannolis. That's how you make this baby work. All right. Yes, sir, baby. Oh, Tone at 3:30. Maurice, the legendary voice of the Eagles, 4:30. And the man who was 7-1 last week versus the spread, the Philly Godfather, at 5:30. We don't put bums on here, man. We put winners on here. 7-1 versus the spread. Go get him, Philly Godfather. How you doing? Yes. Yes. Oh, would you like a little more? Because since we know the media turds watch the program, would you like a little bit more insight in what they're saying about your secondary? Wait, I'll wait until we get to my prediction, which will be here in a second. I heard something on the show before us, Sports Take. And the guy that they had in from Dallas. Is it true Dak Prescott's never thrown a pick in Philly? I thought he was a turnover machine. Not against you. Dak can't be trusted. Yeah, but he can against you. That guy's never thrown a pick in Philly. Dak Prescott's never thrown an interception versus the Eagles in Philadelphia. How you doing? Holy cow. He's never thrown an interception at Lincoln Financial. Hey, man, Dak is him. At least versus the Eagles. That's what makes this bad puppy really good, man. Look at Devin. Yet. You know what I love about this? There is no way on the planet that by the way, all the Philadelphia Dallas Cowboy fans, I'm going to say this to you. You better not show up at that place come Sunday afternoon wearing cowboy gear. You might get your ass kicked. That ain't a place you wear that shit in. See, the Eagles, to me, what I've learned over the last 2.5 years to that community in Philadelphia, you know what I've learned? It's civic pride. That is your number one civic pride identity. That's why you protect the brotherly shove. It's civic pride in what you guys have and what you're going to do on Sunday. A game like this, is it bigger than any other game? Yeah. Stop lying. Nick, do me a favor. Act like your quarterback instead of a school teacher or a cheerleader. Stop. I saw a quote again about Gainwell. You know why he's my number 2? Because of his body of work. Holy cow, can you please shut your mouth? You say the dumbest shit. His body of work, just get the hell up from the press conference like Jalen did, laugh, and walk away. Just shut up. More fans would have more respect for you if you just got up and shut the hell up. Hey, you want to know about Jalen Hurts' knee? Ask the coach. He'll tell you. Just shut the F up, dude. You just make it obnoxious when you open your pie hole. I can't believe a guy defends more shitty calls and more shitty players than I've ever seen. You don't need, it's pro ball. You get paid. Guy sucks, call him out. Guy plays well. What do you want? Pats on the back? You're an NFL player. That's really one of the only criticism is about Nick and the way he does his bedside manner. He's such a politician. He really is. He's a politician. By the way, I think that's probably an issue in Sunday's game. Him being a coach that can't coach. And his players are better than, hey, would you not agree, Sunday? The players are better than the coaching staff. They win in spite of that staff. They win in spite of them. In Pittsburgh, they win in Pittsburgh in spite of the quarterback and the lack of talent. Did you see Mike Tomlin coaching his freaking ass off last night? Holy cow, is that guy a great coach? Mike Tomlin is such a freaking great coach. Man, if all the NFL head coaches, Mike Vrabel and him, I would want to play for. I would totally want to play for Mike Tomlin. That guy gets it. He knows what he's doing. He'll see a deficiency on his team, and he'll coach around it. He is so good, man. And by the way, you think that guy makes excuses? You see him when there's a video clip of him getting in Marquise Pouncey's ass because he jumped off sides, and then he started pushing the guy, and he got a 15-yarder. And he goes, paraphrasing here, he's like, hey, man, this is bigger than you. Look at me. Look at me. Right there on the sidelines. He didn't care who was listening. Look at me. Huh? Where are we going? You're better than that. You're like this. He'll put anybody on blast. Doesn't matter where. Sideline, locker room, practice field. I love that guy. Sirianni wishes he could be a coach like that guy in Pittsburgh. Okay? Honestly. Mike Tomlin's a hell of a coach. Love the way he does business. Dak has never thrown an interception in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Man. How you doing? Okay. Let me see some. Before I put the numbers out here, give me some scores that you think. Give me some scores. Let me see what my score is. Oh, there it is. Right there. Josh Sweat had a pick six. In Philly? Dak has never repeat NFC division. And neither was Jalen. Eagles better team, top to bottom. Facts. You were against the Jets. You were against the Kansas City Chiefs. Hey, can you put that super chat up for me, Tone, please? 30-27, 41-21. That's 41-16. Dak said he's basically Pooh Bear. Pooh, honey, on me. Are we still talking football or rainbows and butterflies? Brotherly tough. He owns you. He's 8-3. You can't beat him. 38-35. Jalen's knee brace. All right, let's get into it. Here's how your boy Big Sills. You went to the Super Bowl last year. Congratulations for your silver medal. You didn't validate it. Great. You wear that NFC Championship ring around in pride. Go ahead, dog. You wear that NFC title ring around in pride. You know, you should take a lot of pride in those Andy Reid rings. They should be calling those things in Philly the Andy Reid ring. All those NFC championship game appearance ring. Oh, he got NFC championship game appearance rings. He's only got one of them things. Those are called like the Andy Reid silver medal. Participation rings. You got a participation ring. Congratulations to you. Those second place rings are awesome. I didn't get an NFC championship ring. That's BS, Howie. Yeah. When's the last time Dallas has been to one? Absolutely true. Those guys talk more shit than you. Yeah. All right. All right, here we go. One of the great rivalries in the NFL. Eagles 7-1, Cowboys 5-2. Would we not agree? Here, I wrote these down. Are these like the last truly great rivalries in the NFL? I wrote these rivalries down. Green Bay Bears, Ravens Steelers, Cowboys Eagles. Could you put another one in there? Could you put another rivalry in those three? Cowboys Eagles. I don't think Cowboys and Redskins / Commanders anymore. I don't think that Raiders and Chiefs, I think that's gone away. 49ers and Seahawks. I used to think 49ers and Rams. Niners, Cowboys. Yeah, I think so. Niners, Cowboys. Yeah, okay. Niners, Cowboys. Yeah. Falcons, Saints. Wake me up when that game's over. Giants and Patriots. Eagles, Commanders. I don't think so. Dolphins, Bills. No. No, no. Dolphins, Steelers back in the day. But see, those rivalries have not withstood the test of time. These rivalries have withstood the test of time. Packers, Bears, Ravens, Steelers, Cowboys, Eagles, Niners, Cowboys. I agree with that one. Those have stood the test of time. Bengals and Chiefs. Now, that's what you're saying. LJ, I like that. It's up and coming. Yes. See, but what I'm saying is this Philadelphia Eagle, Dallas Cowboy rivalry. Hey, can you guys ever remember in your life when that game didn't matter? Do the records really matter to you? That, to me, is what a rivalry is. Like, I don't give a shit what your record is. I want to beat you. You know what I mean? Like, you don't really care what the records are going into this. You care it's the Cowboys. Just so happens you're both good, right? It adds more fire to the matchup, right? So it's truly one of the really endearing and lasting rivalries in the NFL. It really is. And of all, get this, Ravens and Steelers is kind of new. The Ravens are kind of kind of because they were the Browns. And now the Browns are the expansion team, believe it or not. And the Ravens are the old Browns. That Bears and Packers go back to the founding of the league. Niners and Cowboys have been good for a long time. Go back to John Brody even. But Eagles and Cowboys, man. Do we not agree it really started with Vermeil? Yeah, 49ers and Rams. Raiders and 49ers, well, I don't know about that because they're in the proximity when they were in Oakland and San Fran. I covered both teams then. Kind of, but it's that thing's out of gas when it comes to the Raiders. Right? Do we not agree the Cowboys and the Eagle rivalry really picked up steam? I'm going to ask Merrill Reese this. What was there a lot of steam prior to Vermeil with Cowboys and Eagles? Or was it under Dick Vermeil when Dick was the guy that came out basically and said, if we want to be a Super Bowl contending team, we have to beat Dallas? Wasn't it Vermeil that really kind of fueled this rivalry? Was it big before he landed in Philly? You know, as a kid growing up, to me, the rivalry was always Eagles and Giants. I never grew up thinking that the Eagles and the Cowboys were your number one rivalry. I grew up as a Giant guy with my family member being a Hall of Famer, thinking that Eagles and Giants were really the two rivals in the East, and maybe Washington. I looked at Dallas as like kind of like the new guy. Bucks and Saints, yes, it's hung in there, JH. So okay, Steve brings this up. It was America's Team BS. Yeah, well, that was Gil Brandt and all them guys, Clinton Murchison and all them guys that owned the team initially. There was really a rivalry there because the Hunt family really wanted to have the Cowboys, but they didn't want him, Clark Hunt, Hunt to own a team. That's how he started the AFL. Then he got I think they were called the Dallas Texans at the beginning, and then they moved them to Kansas City. Lamar Hunt was the guy had the initial team in Dallas in the AFL. Old legendary ones. Steelers and Cowboys, man, they met all the time in the Super Bowl. Those were great, but not really lasted the time, you know? So this is a rivalry game that really, it doesn't matter what the names are on the back of the jerseys or the coaches on the sidelines. This is a generational rivalry, right? This is like a generational rivalry, which makes it sensational. It's like an old school college rivalry. You don't see that in pro sports. Lakers and Celtics, to me, is truly a great rivalry in pro sports. Let me think of that. The great rivalries in sports: Lakers, Celtics, Eagles, Cowboys, Bears, Packers, Yankees, Red Sox, Flyers, Rangers, Flyers, Bruins, Flyers, Canadians, right? Sixers, Knicks. That thing's lost its steam. Brady Manning, regardless of team. Okay. Michigan, Ohio State. Fantastic. Phillies, Braves. Yes, sir. Actually, when I grew up, you know who I always thought the Phillies' number one rival was? I thought it was the Dodgers. I grew up with Phillies and Dodgers as rivals. Phillies, Dodgers, Phillies, Reds. Those were the rivals to me. I really never looked at the Phillies having a rivalry with the Braves. I grew up with Phillies and Dodgers because those guys were always battling it out for the NLCS pennant. And Pirates. And the Pirates. I grew up with the Phillies battling the Pirates, the Reds, and the Dodgers. Maybe Cardinals. Okay? And I grew up like in the mid 70s. So I was in that Mike Schmidt era where you guys were kind of always battling the Dodgers. The Dodgers would always get the upper hand on you, and they would go play the Yankees in the World Series, and the Yankees would demolish them, I think, until 81. Then they ended up beating the Yankees. I think you guys won the title in 80. That was the Rose team and the McGraw team. And I always looked at those as rivals. This is a great week, though. It's an endearing and a lasting dynasty of rival games that you've played. Dak 8-3 and Tony Romo 11-8 against Philly, but never won an NFC title. 8 years of Dak beating us, which leads to nothing for the Cowboys every year. Death row, I tell you guys that your record the last couple of years has not been validated. Absolutely true on Dak Prescott's 8-3. He has not validated his NFL career with a signature win whatsoever. More so than this, maybe I'll even say this. Dak's never really solidified his career with a championship type team. Eagles and Niners, new rival. It's new. That's a new rivalry, sure. All right. The Cowboys are coming off a 23-point win versus the Rams, whereas the Birds were in a tight one versus Washington. Do I take anything out of the previous week of games? Oilers, Flames. Hey, how about this, LJ? Do you remember when it used to be Avalanche versus the Red Wings? Or Avalanche versus the Devils? Those are some games back in the day. Okay, when you had Pierre Lacroix, who was the general manager of the Avalanche, and you had Lou Lamoriello, who was the architect of the Devils. Those guys put some really great teams together, man. Claude Lemieux. Absolutely. Dude, Pierre Lacroix did such a great job with that Avalanche team. Absolutely just some of the best rivalries. Red Wings and Avalanche. Cowboys and Eagles, right down the same line, man. I'm still not over Detroit sweeping us. hey, man. Those teams with Steve Yzerman. Steve Yzerman's a dear friend of mine. I should post a picture so you could see Steve and myself. When he became the general manager of the Tampa Bay Lightning, I became super friends with him. I love him, man. Devils and Flyers, absolutely. Scott Stevens and them dudes rolling around with the Flyers and Lindros. That was the heyday of the NHL to me like that. I love that stuff, man. So do I take anything from the previous week, Dallas Crone, about a 23-point win over the Rams? Absolutely nothing. Birds are 3-point favorites in this game on Sunday. It's the game of the weekend. Okay? It's totally the game of the weekend. Here is what we know of the Eagles and trends of what they are as they go into this Sunday game. Passing yards, Eagles, 255-1. That's good enough for 7th place in the league. Passing yards. Rushing yards. The number's consistently coming down. 132-3. They're 7th. Points scored. Eagles are 28th. That's 2nd. Overall, you're looking at what they're doing, and I would make this comment to you. The Philadelphia Eagles are 7th in passing, 7th in rushing, 2nd in scoring, and I would say this, they're probably playing 80% of their best football. They're not playing, in my opinion, because of the turnovers. Turnovers in red zone, in my opinion, are the only thing stopping this offense from being a consistent unit where you fear it every time they take the ball and every time they get into a huddle. Because I look at this, I look at Jalen, and this offense will make a mistake. We're also going to add something to our conversation today here in a second. Here's who they are on defense. The Eagles are one of the worst pass defensive teams in the NFL. And last week, because of the Sam Howell performance, they were kind of trending up, but they went the other way. They're 26th as they enter this game, giving up 247 yards a game, almost 250 yards passing a game. They're number 1 in the NFL against the run, 65-5, exceptional. Here's something else to think about. Points allowed. The Eagles are 19th. So you have one of the worst pass defenses in the league and one of the worst scoring defenses in the league. That's not a remedy you want to go with going into a Cowboy game. Your pass defense is not very good, and your scoring defense is not very good. You're giving up 21-5. You're 19th as you go into this game. And I'm going to show you on the other side with the Cowboys and what they're doing here now. Here are the Cowboys. Passing offense, 220. 16th. Middle of the pack. You're not going to beat the Eagles with an average off. Well, yeah, you can. Because the pass offense is better than the Eagles' pass defense. So you make those numbers look better. They've got more talent in the passing game than you have in your pass defense. Remember what I told you? It's about matchups. That's a matchup that favors Dallas. You're 26th out of 32 teams. Okay? Dallas is in the middle of the league in offense. That's advantage Cowboys. It's kind of who you are. Rushing yards. This number's not that awful. You're averaging 132. They're averaging 117, almost 120 yards. You're averaging 12 more yards than them. They're 11th. They're almost top 10 in running. That's not awful. That's enough. That's enough. Just like Sam Howell needed. Just enough. You don't have to go for 120 yards against the Eagles. You need about 90 yards against them to keep play action and keep that secondary back on their heels again. The points, to me, for the Cowboys are not a real number because they're doing a lot of this with pick sixes and defense. So when they say 28-1 and they're 8th, I would look at Dallas. I think Dallas has red zone issues. And when I see that they're scoring as many points as the Eagles, I don't believe that. I don't believe they get the ball in the end zone like the Eagles do. You know what I'm saying? I look at that 28 points, and for some reason, I want to say the Eagles or the Cowboys average like 21, 19, somewhere down there. You know what I mean? I just don't look at that and go, I don't know if I watch a Cowboy game and go, that's a high-scoring offense. Here's who the Cowboys are on defense now. So the Cowboys are 4th in pass defense, giving up only 178.6. There could be a part of your game right there. Here's the other point. Through these trends, you see an approach and an attack. The Eagles have to look at this number. The Cowboys' rush defense is 108.9. That's 18th. Why would you want to throw the ball against the 4th best pass defense in the league, where you're looking at a team that's down in their 20 in rush defense? Points allowed, 17-1. They're 4th. What's that mean? They play great red zone defense. Okay? They do a nice job at red zone defense. I think Dan Quinn's a heck of a coordinator. I really do. At home, the Cowboys offense averages 32 points a game. On the road, 21. I just don't really think that team gets the ball in the end zone, Tone. They just don't look like a high-scoring offense. And when I see 28 points, I'm like, really? I go, really? I don't know. You know? So, when you look at this, when you look at these trends of what these two teams have done to get to this point for Sunday, the Cowboys defend the pass exceptionally well. They're high in turnover takeaway. You know the one thing, I hate that stat. Because you know why? Do you know what is takeaway? What is the takeaway stat? What does that mean to you? I think it's luck. I think it's luck. I don't think you can build your team around interceptions and potential fumbles because that's like you're waiting for the opposing team to make a mistake and you capitalizing on it. What if a guy like Sam Howell doesn't make a mistake? So your game plan was hoping he turns the ball over? Well, that's not a plan. That's wishful thinking. Okay? Sam Howell was on pace, and I was on pace to get sacked 90 times. You got home once. Well, that trend went away. They had more rushing yards than you. That trend went away. He did make one mistake. That's why the game was close. If the Cowboys are building their defense on takeaway, giveaway, you're not really building your team on solid stats. Solid stat is number one against the run. Their solid stat is their fourth and pass defense. Those are stats that you build your team around. Okay? So, I mean, here, throwing the ball against the Cowboys, why would you do that? Why would you do this? Because the Eagles want to. You've run the ball, as I told you yesterday, only 23 times in the first half in the last 3 games. If the Eagles come out against the Cowboys, Hurts will turn the ball over. I don't want Dallas scoring first. Okay? Because you're not a balanced unit right now. And that means the propensity to have to throw the ball more. I think that the Eagles coaches will panic. So to me, I want to see a drive like New England to open the game. Maybe you take the coin toss. I don't know. And you inflict your will immediately. The worst thing you can see in this game is if Dallas gets a lead and the Eagles have to come from behind again. Okay? Dak's never thrown a pick in Philly. He's not Sam Howell. He'll beat you. Okay? He'll beat you. So you got to be careful in how you go about your game. I'm not saying conservative either. You've got to look at the numbers here. They're 18th in run defense. Be patient. Just be a little patient. Hey, win first and second down. Dallas is going to try to do everything they can to win first and second down. If you pick the Cowboys, the chat will riot. Hang in there. I'm getting there. Okay? Okay. This is where I see the score, and this is how I see this thing playing out. I got the Birds winning this 24-21. I thought it was going to be more of a 35-31 game, but then last night, I think both teams are going to be a little conservative. And they're going to try to make sure that they don't. This is going to be about turnovers as it always is. Okay? This is going to be about turnovers. If Jalen Hurts has the ball in his hand with the last minutes of the game, the Birds win that game. If Dak has the ball in his hand and you're going against one of the worst pass defenses in the league, you guys, I heard Mark Farcetta saying this too. Dak's not a turnover machine this year. Jalen is. That's not true. Jalen Hurts will have more turnovers this year than what Dak will. They're kind of limiting him in turnover opportunities. They're kind of doing something what they're kind of doing up in Buffalo. They're limiting his turnover opportunities by not having him throw the ball in high percentage turnover plays like they did a year ago. Mike's kind of keeping him more in a box than what they were doing freelance and And I'll make this point to you about Prescott. I think under Mike McCarthy, I think under Mike McCarthy, and this is where I think Jalen Hurts has actually struggled this year. You may disagree or not, but look at the turnovers and look at the overthrows. I think Dak has done a hell of a job this year on off-script plays under McCarthy versus what Hurts has done off-script. Okay, you see some turnovers on off-script plays that the DC or the OC, when he goes off-script, there's turnovers. I think Dak's done a better job of that this year for him. Now, is Jalen kind of tightening it up over the last month? Yeah. He's closing that gap on mistakes. I think he is. So I think they're becoming more in tune with one another here as we get into this. Okay? I do. I think he's coming to look. Can Prescott play any better? I don't know. Can Jalen? I think there's about a 20% margin. He could play 20% better football. That's scary. But the problem you have in Philly is, for some reason, their ideology now is not to run the ball. And so what you're doing is you're asking him, I got to say, I don't know if I totally disagree with what they got. If you got Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert and you got A.J. Brown, would you really want to just rely on Kenny Gainwell and DeAndre Swift consistently on your football team? See, to me, what I think happens, they think DeAndre Swift is good. They'd rather have him involved in the passing game than in the run game. And that, to me, is why the carries and the yardage, when you guys have fraud numbers in rushing, you've built them off of 2 games. You're not really a running team anymore because the quarterback's not. Sills, Swift is 4th. Off of 2 games, you've played 8. Shit, you've been outrushed in the last 3. How could you call yourself the number 2 or 4 running attack in the league when you've been outrushed in 3 straight ball games? And you keep telling me you're the best O-line in the NFL. Well, you ain't acting like it, or they're not utilizing it. They'd rather have him. Hey, and by the way, I think the Eagle O-line is better in the run game than in pass protection. Quarterback's been hit more. Well, there's more opportunities in throwing the ball. That's the point John McMullen makes all the time. Follow the money and investments. A.J. Brown, Goddard, Smitty, Jalen. This is their offense, not Gainwell and Smith. That's why everyone's been bitching. Why would you establish guys who are the lowest paid guys? It's a fundamental thinking process. However, I don't think you have the same running talent in the backfield as you did a year ago. I just don't. In my opinion, now I know why the Lions moved off of DeAndre Swift and went with the running game that they have now. He's not a real big-time back when it comes to running. His versatility is great. But how could you be a big-time back and you get taken out in scoring position? Is that a big-time back? You think you take Emmitt Smith out on the 20? Adrian Peterson? You think you take big-time backs out? You're not taking Christian McCaffrey off the field on the 20 to put Kenny Gainwell in. I mean, the only reason you do that is because you don't have the faith that he can hold up down in there. It's great. I mean, think about it. You guys keep telling me how great. And I actually like the way the players played this year, DeAndre Swift. I don't have a problem. I have a problem kind of how they use him and how they think about him. More so than what his production is doing. Rocksteady goes like this. So what? Then that's why you're struggling down there in the red zone. Okay? And that's why you don't have balance. You don't have balance because they don't have faith in anybody to run between the tackles. So you got to throw the ball, which means what? More opportunity for turnovers in a game like this against the 4th-ranked pass defense in the league and number 1 turnovers and takeaways. That plays into the Cowboys' hands. So you guys go like this. Well, roster-wise, Sills, we have the talent compared to Dallas. Yes. But do you have the philosophy and do you have the coaching to understand and to weed through this on how you have situational play calling in this game on Sunday? Look, I don't question the roster of the Eagles. I question the coaching staff's approach to how they want to beat the Cowboys or try to play the Cowboys on Sunday. My biggest problem is game plan. What game plan will you have on Sunday to counter the things that Dallas does against your strengths? Their strengths match your strengths well. You guys have a good passing offense. They have the number 4 passing defense. So that's kind of an equal. Will you be patient enough to run the ball? You're not, though, because the last 3 weeks have dictated, and that's a trend, that you don't want to do that. So to me, I want to throw the ball at Goddard here. Make a high percentage passes for Hurts. Block and release. Block and release. I don't think the Cowboys have a linebacker that can block him or stop him. I just do not believe the Dallas Cowboys have a linebacker that can defend. I think there's more of a mismatch with Dallas versus Goddard than A.J. Brown versus the secondary of the Cowboys. I think there's a bigger mismatch with the tight end. The fascination with Gainwell kills me. He's just a non-productive guy, and he's a horrific blocker too, Nasty. Goofy locker room, politics at play. I don't know, man. I mean, it sure seems it. Forcing his RB by committee approach is foolish. Yeah, again, but that's a money trail like John McMullen talks with Tone. That's a money thing. Eagle linebackers, no money. Eagle running backs, no money. Eagle safeties, no money. And isn't it funny? Every one of those positions this year are some of the issues on the football team that we question going into each and every single week. And when you get sub-play by your corners, then all of a sudden everything gets accentuated more. And everything gets brought into perspective more. Think about that. Look at the money positions. Has the right guard been a problem? Probably. Probably not spoken enough. Your run game's been affected the last 3 weeks. Has your linebackers being able to cover people been a problem? Yeah, you didn't want to spend any money. Have your safeties you had to go get? And you didn't spend a ton to get Kevin Byard in there, but that's okay. But you went and got a guy because you didn't have a guy, so which meant this. You didn't address it. You addressed it in the draft, but realized the kid's not ready, Sidney Brown. So you had to go and make a trade because you knew what you had on the roster wasn't good enough. Yet, I'm a Sidney Brown fan. I think he's going to be a fine ball player. I think he's going to be a really good ball player in 2 years. You need a guy on Sunday. Now, look, again, 24-21 Birds. If this was in Dallas, I might have it opposite. Because of what Tone said. They play really well at home. Dallas's offense is better than your pass defense. Facts. Eagles lack balance because the rushing scheme was built on the threat of Jalen running. Relative. Absolutely true. They've taken part of Jalen's game away from the approach of how they go with situational play calling. And either by design or injury, he's not running. It's both. And preservation. That's what they're doing too. They're trying to preserve the kid because they want him playing 17 ball games. Didn't we all noticed it when he wasn't hurt, when he was pre-sliding? Hey, Tone, remember after the New England game? No one wanted to address it, and all of you thought I was making it up. So is he like protective sliding now? And no, everyone kept going, yeah, no, there's nothing. Oh, I completely think now that was a preseason decision by the organization and by the coaching staff that Jalen Hurts, they were going to try to limit as much contact with him as possible. And there's no question that you have a quarterback now that refuses to get hit because he's been told. I don't think Jalen likes playing like that, but hey, I mean, he's a coachable kid. He's going to do what they say. All right? He's been protecting himself all year. I'm not thinking that's a bad idea either. Despite the injury, Hurts is going through on evolution. We have to accept it and ride the wave. That's right. That's right. And there's no question. Listen, for them to get their investment out of those number one picks with Devontae trading for AJ and the money you're paying both AJ Brown and the money you're paying Goddard, to sit there and focus on Gainwell and Swift as a focal point on moving the sticks for you is absurd. Okay? It's absolutely absurd not to utilize, because why pay Jalen $50 million? I could Tyrod Taylor to do that. And I could pay Tyrod 18 to do that. Okay? So what they're doing is, because the kid has shown that he can. Here, I'll tell you one thing that has been the biggest surprise in 2.5 years of Jalen Hurts' growth as a quarterback. You know what it is? What's the number I keep hanging on? What's the number that I keep hanging on? Nothing to do with his passing yards. Not really anything to do with his turnovers, because there's more volume. Okay? The only number that I care about Jalen Hurts' development, okay, is that he's showing you he's accurate. You can develop accurate quarterbacks. You cannot develop non-accurate quarterbacks. Sam Darnold can never be developed. Why? He's not accurate. He wasn't accurate at SC. He was a turnover machine at Southern Cal. That will never turn around for him. He is not an accurate guy. Okay? And what I mean by accurate, I'll live with the picks. I'm not going to live with 60% completion percentage, 61, in a league that if you're not above 65% completion percentage and you're not completing almost 7 passes out of every 10, you can't quarterback for me. You've got to be accurate in today's NFL. The game is too wide open. You know, it's funny. That's why you go with more pocket passers, because they tend to be more accurate. Why? Okay? Simple. When a dual threat guy starts to get banged on like Cam Newton, by the end of the year, these guys are worn out. Passes sail high, passes are low, because you're getting beat up on and you're starting to flinch in the pocket. Guy goes at your. Do you know that defensive linemen, I've told you guys this before. Do you know when you get towards the end of a season, you know what your D-line coach will say? Dive at his feet. Because you know what that quarterback will start doing, especially a guy like Sam Howell later in the year? He'll start doing this. Looking like this, what happens? Pass goes high. I'm not saying, you don't even have to hit him. I'm not saying take a cheap knee shot. Just go down, because after a while, he gets antsy in the pocket. And that guy will go like this. Ball's high, that's how you have a turnover and passing. That's how you get a pass intercepted. It was something that was taught to us all the time. Roll around. Make him have to move his feet. Get him off his spot. These guys who get hit a lot, hey, do you know one of the best pass plays I saw last week was by Joe Burrow. Who'd they play? The Niners? It was the Niners. They had him dead to rights in the pocket. He rolls right. Mistake by the Niners and Steve Wilkes. You want Burrow rolling left. He rolls right. He gets annihilated, completes a pass down the sidelines, as accurate as you can get. That's one of the best passes of the year because he got destroyed. But he held his water and his toughness. Here's a guy that was hurt all month and a half. Bengals look like they're rolling again. That's going to be some ball game, man. Josh Allen versus Joe Burrow Sunday. Holy shit, that's going to be a great ball game. Okay? Sills, how about it? That was just a sensational throw. And guess what they're now doing in Buffalo? They're now, hey, and you know, it's funny, Tone was talking about developing Jalen. Look at what they figured out now. Do you know that they are going through so much trying to figure out how to keep turnovers down with Josh Allen? So you know what they're doing? They're going no huddle. They're speeding the sequence of plays up. You know what Ken Dorsey, I'll tell you flat out. Do you know what Ken Dorsey told me they're doing now? Instead of these listen to this one, Tone. Instead of these complex 38-98 black scissors, cross, wedge, block, release, sideline, third, instead of doing all that shit, they're putting the blocking assignment now down into the old lineman and taking it out of the quarterback's cadence. And on the play call, you're taking about 4 seconds off. Why is that important? Bill Walsh told me the more seconds you have to process the information in front of you, the more you'll see the game. Those John Gruden play calls that had like it was like something out of a symphony from Beethoven that you had to like talk in the huddle. By the time you got to the huddle, there was 8 seconds left. And you had to go with quick count. What happens when you go with quick count? You know what D linemen are told? Hey, it's going to be on 1. It's going to be a quick count or on 1 or 2. You're not going to go hard count because you don't have time to go hard count. You look at the clock. You don't listen to the guy. He's down to 3 seconds. He's got to snap the ball. Can't go hard count on 3 seconds. That's what the linebackers behind you are saying. 3 seconds, 3 seconds. 3 seconds. He can't go hard count, which means you give me the advantage on the snap, on the snap, and that means I can guess on the snap and get around the horn and sack your quarterback. This is all playing out in front of us with some of these guys. This is what Jalen's going through too. There is so much. It is not easy playing that position. How we saw what happened with Wentz injury-wise. When he paid Hurts, he's probably made the coaching change Hurts' game. Coaches change Hurts' game. The style is holding Hurts back. Yeah, but hey, listen, death row. If Jalen Hurts has to take 2 steps, 1 step back to take 4 steps forward, and you're 7-1, dude, trust me, there'd be more of an issue in that Eagle office right now and in that coaching staff if you guys were 5-3 and he was going through all these turnovers. The only thing where people are okay with what's going on, that's you can defend Kenny Gainwell when you're 7-1. You can't defend Kenny Gainwell when you're 5-3 and he's fumbling and texting, right? Right? That's an easy cover because you can't bitch at the coach. Or what they're doing with Hurts. In a game like Dallas, I think all the shit that he's been going through right now, all the things that Carson Wentz went through that couldn't process, he couldn't process it. I'll tell you one thing that Carson Wentz did in Philly that is pretty much like what went on in Buffalo and now in Kansas City. I can't believe that guy threw for 4,000 yards and you didn't have a wide receiver with over 500 yards in catches the year he did that. You don't have anybody over 500 yards and he threw for 4,000? That is remarkable. I looked that stat up. I couldn't believe it. I mean, Carson Wentz had 4,000 passing yards, and not one receiver on the team had 1,000 yards. Okay. Who was he throwing to? That is a quarterback carrying your offense. Okay? And then, you know what happened to him? I'm going to tell you flat out. The organization tried continuing to evolve him, and he couldn't evolve. And the league caught up with him just like that. And to your point, Death Row, they're not going to allow that same mistake to happen to Hurts. So they're evolving his game. Turnovers are going to be high. I'm going to accept all the turnovers on the planet right now from Jalen Hurts as long as you're 7-1. Okay? All right? I am totally going to live with that. Okay? Nobody had 1,000 yards in the wide receiving core that year when he threw for $4,000. Listen, I'm not telling you that Wentz is better than her. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that was one of the better passing seasons in Eagle history with what that guy did that year as his game was continuing to evolve. And after that year, it went downhill massively because he couldn't evolve his game. Look, they're trying to do the same shit in Buffalo. Here, I'll tell you what they're doing in Dallas with Dak right now. They're rolling him more. They're doing more intermediate passing. They're not putting him in positions for high turnover plays. I would bet you this, that Dak Prescott is going to have maybe one of his lowest attempt years, and that's going to bring that number down. But, hey, would you rather have 40 touchdowns, or would you rather have a guy have the best season in his career at limited interceptions? Did you know through 8 games, the Eagles have ran less than 40 RPO plays? He made his $50 million a year off the RPO, not off of what he's doing now. Last season, they were guaranteed to run at least 15 to 20 RPOs in a single game. It completely changes the entire integrity of how you go about your game. And see those stats right there? It tells you why you're in every game now. You're not worse. They got a different approach in how they're approaching the game and how they're elevating or trying to elevate Jalen's passing. They want Jalen to be a passing quarterback, and there is nothing around it. Jalen Hurts didn't get paid for Jalen Hurts right now. He was paid off them RPOs and how he ran that offense. Now you got a different guy almost. You got a higher turnover guy, and you're going to have to learn to see how this – I don't know how this is going to play out. You're 7-1. Absolutely. So the Eagles right now are sitting here going, we have a lot of turnovers, and we don't have a lot of balance, but we believe we have a kid who's evolving into being like Russell Wilson was in Seattle early. Only difference was they had Marshawn Lynch up there. Marshawn Lynch, and I say this to you all the time about Russell Wilson, when Lynch left that team, the Seattle Seahawks and Wilson were never the same. They were never the same football team. Because, and to go along with that, what are you doing? See, look at what Seattle did in that Super Bowl versus the Patriots. In the angst, Seals, do you think the Eagles play Nolan Smith more instead of Barnett to get a little more pressure on Dak? Adam, we're in week 8 of the season now. I surely hope we get to see this kid a little more on the field. I mean, it just seems that they don't trust him, right? If you don't see a kid playing, it means they don't trust him. Remember in that Super Bowl? It was like a Seattle Seahawk priority from John Schneider and the front office to make it a priority that Russell Wilson was the star. So with first and goal, with seconds left, they throw the ball. The kid gets the pick instead of turning it around and handing it to the best player in the offensive huddle, which is Marshawn Lynch. He'd have scored easily. You win your second Super Bowl in a row, and you beat Brady. Instead, throw a pick. Why would you do that? Because you're steadfast at wanting to break away from the run game. That is philosophical, in-game, situational play calling where you don't have your shit together. Shit, you even had timeouts. Even though they lost the Super Bowl, and we don't make excuses for that, Hurts went 27 of 38, completing 71% of his passes. I think that was a nail that told Howie he can pass the ball. We just have to lean into it more. That's the longevity of it. I get it, a tone true. And I would think this, if you do the evaluation on it and you look at it and go, okay, Kansas City's corners, not bad. Young, but not bad. He was really good in that game. But can you win a Super Bowl not having balance? I don't know. Jalen Hurts, I said this a couple weeks ago, and I'll say it again to you guys. I feared last year's offense more than this one. Hey, before I get to a timeout, are you too dependent on A.J. Brown? Is this Eagle offense becoming too dependent on one guy? And if you say no, everyone else's numbers are down. Are you becoming too focused on one guy? You go with what works? That's not what they're doing this year. That's not what they're doing. A.J. Brown has been the focal point every single game since week 2. That's not true. What works was last year. That's not what they're doing this year. Do you know that I think Devontae Smith this year is getting collateral yards off of what AJ's doing in particular games? I don't really think that he's relied on a lot like AJ is. They're dependent on him. Jalen has become dependent on him. You're 7-1. Is that a bad thing? Can you become too dependent? Hey, get this. They moved Tyreek Hill in Kansas City because maybe they thought Patrick Mahomes become too dependent on Tyreek Hill. Moved them, won a Super Bowl. Offense broke all kinds of records last year. They were developing a kid, forcing him. Hey, do you understand what they did to Mahomes last year? They made Mahomes, without putting like a study clause in his contract, they forced him to study the game more because he had to spread it around more because Hill wasn't there. And you just can't have Travis Kelce. You've got to make the other guys. Isn't it a brilliant approach what Andy did? You got rid of one of the greatest deep threats in NFL history and forced your $50 or $500 million quarterback into being more of a student of the game. That's coaching. That's coaching. Think of that. They took Hill off the team, won a Super Bowl. He became more, and he even said it. I had to become more of a progression reader. I had to understand more about where guys were open at pre-snap. pre-snap reads on where I thought the ball would go. He said that. Okay? Kansas City got better getting rid of Tyreek Hill. That's how you develop a quarterback. So, one more time. Has this Eagle team become too dependent on one guy? You think you could win a Super Bowl? Hey, you think you could win the Super Bowl without A.J. Brown on the team? On a one-dimensional offense? You're not one of the better running attacks in the league right now. I don't care what your number says. Your last month says you're not. Shit, the Commanders have outrushed you in both games. I wouldn't think that they got a great O-line. You had AJ last year and lost. So you think you can win a Super Bowl without AJ? All right. Be something we hit on a little bit. Don't forget, my guy Tone's going to join us at 3:30. Merrill Reese is going to join us at 4:30. Philly Godfather was 7-1 against the spread. 7-1 last week. He'll be with us at 5:30. Absolutely. Last chance to qualify for our great giveaway, merch, and also a chance to win some gift certificates. It's the 40th anniversary of Hooters, and right now in November, it is Happy Wings Giving from all of our friends at Hooters. The iconic Hooter girls are going to be here to tell you that without a doubt, through the month of November, they are going to have specials each and every single day for you guys, and you're going to enjoy these so much. Every Monday through Friday, you're going to love what they're doing for you. Ice cold Coors Lights, $2.99, 25 cents will also go to local charities with each and every single purchase. The Hooter calendars 2024 are out. $100 in gift certificates are inside the calendars too. I was a judge for a couple of those calendars. Absolutely awesome. NortheastTutors.com. That's NortheastTutors.com. Lunch specials, Monday through Friday, 11:30 p. through 3. Boneless wings. Happy hour, Monday through Friday, 4 to 6. 6 items, $6. Simple as that, right? Get the fried pickles. You'll absolutely love them. Seafood Sundays, half price. Love the buffalo shrimp. Military Mondays, 20% off. Our great men and women who served in our military and for our country. Tuesday, you buy 10 wings, get 10 boneless free. And, of course, the legendary Wing Wednesdays, 1983, all you can eat. Kids eat for free on Saturday. NortheastTutors.com. That's NortheastTutors.com. And don't forget also, you'll see the code word that's going to be thrown around throughout the next 4 hours of the program. All you do is email us, dansilioshow@gmail.com, and we will announce your name on Monday, Football Monday, after coming out of the Dallas Cowboys and Philadelphia Eagles weekend, man. That'll be great. There it is right there, dansilioshow@gmail.com. Simple as that. We could possibly be naming your name on Monday. Hit the like button. Keep it here on the National Football Show.
Football and Hooters, the perfect pair.